BMW coupes used to be all about compactness, lightness and rapid responses. This one still is. The Munich brand has really come good with the M235i, a cracker of a little performance coupe that packs a 326 brake horsepower punch, is priced keenly, looks the part, and unlike some pricier BMW performance models, is still available with a manual transmission. With this car, the game just changed for the better. Back in 1985, BMW launched a car called the M3. There was nothing else quite like it. A racer for the road with 4 seats and everything Munich knew about motorsport technology plumbed into the lightweight engine beneath the bonnet. Driving it was a living, raw, involving experience in a way that today's sharp-suited M3 and M4 models can't quite duplicate for all their extra power and sophistication. But here perhaps is a BMW that can, the M235i. Though the suspension, the engine and the handling all benefit from the expertise of the company's famous M division, the Munich maker insists that this isn't an official M car. Instead, it's an example of the new breed of interim M Performance variants, introduced in recent years to bridge the price and performance gap between standard fast BMWs and the all-out M series models. The most obvious example of such a car is this one's direct predecessor, the much-loved 1 Series M Coupe, 6,000 of which were produced between 2011 and 2012, and which attracted such a following that a successor in the brand's 2 Series Coupe lineup that came fresh to the market early in 2014 was essential. This is it. In case you didn't get the memo, coupes like this one now get even-numbered model designations within BMW's lineup, but in every other way, this car is a direct replacement for that hottest version of the old 1 Series Coupe. Tick off hot shoe handling, a 3-litre straight-six turbo engine, and rest to 62 supercar style in under 5 seconds. Yet this car will comfortably seat 4 adults, has a big boot, and an easygoing daily temperament. It could, in other words, be all the sports car you'll ever need. Let's try it. Now, you expect quite a lot of a BMW wearing a badge like this. The Bavarian marque has, after all, produced some legendary cars of this kind down through the years. So, what's it like? Well, you settle in behind the wheel and everything seems just right. The driving position perfect. Already you're feeling like driving rather than merely travelling. Punch the starter button, get ready to set off, and you'll find yourself looking forward to finding a road that will put the Bavarian maker's bold claims for this car to the test. Get to the first open bend and you find yourself pushing a little harder than you might normally, just to see. Sure enough, power into a corner, dab the brakes, turn the wheel, and it's true. There's a feeling of complete control. Ideal 50-50 axle load distribution, optimised aerodynamics, a long wheelbase and a low, ideally balanced centre of gravity, combined with rear-wheel drive to give this car its unique agility. It's one of those that just feels right within the first 15 metres, this down to the sum of a whole series of small but important things that simply hit the right notes. The things I've just mentioned also combine with many others. Seating position, control weights, engine tractability, suspension refinement, basic ergonomics, stuff like that. As for the way that leaves you feeling, well, it's much like the sort of thing you probably heard about interviewers you've faced, often having made their decision before you've even got into your seat. First impressions are crucial, and this 2 Series nails them. But then you'd expect a top performance 2 Series model to be able to do that. I'm anticipating that many buyers of this M235i will be people who owned or enjoyed the old 1 Series M Coupe model, or maybe even an old M3. If that's you, then one of the first differences you're going to notice with this car is the addition of standard drive performance control, the rocker switch for which you'll find down here by the gear stick. You might be familiar with this kind of thing by now. It's a setup that allows you to tweak the steering, throttle and stability control system thresholds depending on the operating mode that you select. Gear change times too, if like many M235i buyers you decide against the slick 6-speed stick shifter I'm using here and order your car with the 8-speed sport automatic paddle shift transmission. This features a natty launch control setup for would-be Alonsos. If you ignore the attributes of drive performance control or select its most relaxed comfort or efficient Eco Pro settings, then the travelling experience in this car, though quite comfortable, won't be especially memorable. Push the rocker switch forward into Sport though, and the reaction that you get immediately feels keener and more alert. More like the kind of 2 Series enthusiasts would expect this car to be. The further Sport Plus setting will of course sharpen things up even more and relax the DSC control to provide a little more tail-out cornering leeway if you should be that way inclined. To really create that kind of machine though, you have to spend a bit of extra money on the M Sport adaptive suspension setup that's fitted to the model that I'm driving here. A system that works as part of drive performance control and is able to alter the ride to suit the road that you're on and the mood that you're in. With this model, I probably need to clear up a few product semantics. This M235i isn't a proper M car, like say an M3, an M4 or an M5, developed exclusively by the company's motorsport M division. BMW wants to leave space for a fully fledged M2 model to fill that role. Instead, this car sits within what the brand calls its M Performance lineup, kind of stepping stone between the faster versions of its standard models and the ultimate M car machines. This vehicle's predecessor, the much sought after 1 Series M Coupe, was one of the first of the M Performance cars to be launched and was quickly followed by the equally well received M135i Performance hatch. Think M Light and you won't be too far off the concept here. Or at least M Light in terms of the fact that you don't necessarily need a lottery win to afford the thing. In terms of performance though, well, you decide. At launch it was the only 6-cylinder 2 Series model you could buy and has 326 brake horsepower on tap, 1 brake horsepower more than a Porsche Cayman S if you're interested. So it's seriously quick, with more power than the M3s that used to adorn my bedroom wall. Select the Sport Plus setting on the drive performance controller and the manual version will get you to 62 miles an hour in 5 seconds dead, while the 8-speed Sport automatic variant shaves a further couple of tenths off that time. Both versions are restricted to a top speed of 155 miles an hour, although BMW engineers reckon that with no speed limiter, these cars would top 170 miles an hour. That's serious performance for such a small coupe. You'll need to know the 2 Series Coupe range quite intimately to instantly appreciate the difference between this M235i and a standard model merely fitted with M Sport trim. The giveaways that this is the most potent 6-cylinder version include M aerodynamic body styling, ferret grey air blades, twin chrome tailpipes, an M rear spoiler and lovely 18-inch M double spoke alloy wheels. Move inside and you step over door sill finishes with the M235i logo and take your place on a low slung sports seat with classic M style upholstery seams. It positions you perfectly in front of a grippy M leather steering wheel with multifunction buttons, and there's also an M driver footrest. If you haven't specified leather, sporty aluminium hexagon trim and an anthracite headliner both aim to generate the appropriate atmosphere, and the M branded instrument cluster has a specific dial design and fine chronoscales. There are nice little extra touches too, like the way that the interior lighting can be set to exclusive orange, red or white colours. Otherwise, the cabin will hold few surprises for existing BMW owners. Though there are a few plastic panels that feel quite hard to the touch, overall the high quality impresses, and it's this general classiness that makes it all feel special rather than any standout detailing. What I think the brand is very good at is deciding what functions should remain as dashboard buttons, like the ventilation and the stereo controls, and which ones should be squirreled away in the infotainment system menus, in this case an iDrive setup which has become one of the very best of its kind. Rear seat passengers, meanwhile, will be grateful for that boxy shape. It's certainly more spacious here than a more swoopily styled rival would be, even if legroom remains in somewhat short supply, despite the fact that it's increased by 21mm over the old 1 Series coupe. Still, adults who aren't too lanky should be able to squeeze themselves in reasonably comfortably with a bit of cooperation from those ahead, provided that the folk in front aren't basketball players and the journey isn't too long. Though only a couple of people can be accommodated, a stowage compartment is provided in between, and there's a cockpit-like feel to these chairs that rather suits the character of the car. Most of the time, of course, you'll be using these seats to sling briefcases, jackets or designer shopping bags onto, or indeed folding them down to increase boot space. There's more of this than you might expect too. More, in fact, than you'd get in a supposedly more practical 5-door BMW 1 Series sports hatch. In fact, the 390-litre total cargo area capacity is 20 litres up on what the old 1 Series coupe could offer, which means that even before you start pushing forward the 60/40 split-folding rear bench, you've got more space to play with than you would in an everyday Focus or Golf family hatchback. No other compact coupe competitor can match this, and some are way behind. We're talking about 30% more luggage space than you get in a Volkswagen Scirocco, for example. Plus, there are cargo nets to tie your shopping down so you don't have to worry about attacking a few of your favourite back roads on the long route back from the supermarket. The 60/40 split-folding rear bench just mentioned is standard, using these levers. But there's the optional extra flexibility of a 40-20-40 three-way folding arrangement with a through loading facility for long items like skis. In other words, though in choosing this BMW you'll have bought yourself a coupe, it's not a car without a certain level of practicality. This top M235i model requires a £35,000 budget, and as with other 2 Series coupe variants, comes with the £1,500 option of 8-speed automatic transmission. As for direct competition, well, this variant doesn't have much. The performance it offers is significantly above pokier hot hatches like Vauxhall's Astra VXR, Seat's Leon Cupra or the Renault Sport Megane. Even Peugeot's RCZ-R can't keep up with this BMW, despite being not very much cheaper. And anyway, all these kinds of cars, though less expensive, can't offer the handling purity of rear-wheel drive. In fact, to truly match what's on offer in an M235i, you'd have to spend around £50,000 on a Porsche Cayman S. As for M235i equipment, well, it runs to lovely M double-spoke 18-inch alloy wheels shod with high-grip tyres that aren't of the run-flat variety. Then there's an M Sport braking system and unique M Sport suspension. Plus xenon headlamps, unique variable sport steering, M aerodynamic body style, an M rear spoiler, Dakota leather upholstery, an auto-dimming rear-view mirror and 2-zone automatic air conditioning. On to extra cost items. The BMW options list can be financially ruinous, but nevertheless contains some real tempters. Don't listen to the optional Harman Kardon Logic 7 sound system with its 12 speakers and multi-channel DSP amplifier if you think your resolve is going to crumble. I'd also be interested in the reversing camera and the comfort access feature that makes it possible to open the car doors and start the engine without having to use the key. Then there's the high beam assistance system that automatically dips your headlights for you at night in the face of oncoming traffic, part of a visibility package that also includes adaptive xenon headlamps that turn with the bends. In theory, the optional glass sunroof seems a good idea too, but in practice it robs you of a crucial inch or two of front headroom. Bear in mind too that you'll need to pay extra for the through loading system for longer items. Don't go spending too much on items like these though until you've considered the merits of BMW's various connected drive media packages. These include the latest BMW Professional Media package with its wider 8.8-inch screen. The navigation setup can also divert you around jams with real-time traffic information and BMW online services. There are also the latest infotainment features like full speech recognition and voice control with an optional message dictation function. Plus, you can activate the clever Google Send to Car system too, this allowing you to plan your route beforehand on your PC, then remotely forward it to your vehicle. You'll have access to various BMW apps too. The BMW Connected app, allowing in-car use of web radio and linking you into social networks like Facebook and Twitter. The My BMW Remote app even enables you to remotely lock or unlock your car if you lose your keys. Safety is, as you'd expect from BMW, well accounted for, and it's the same whether you choose the base 2 Series Coupe SE or this potent performance model. There are the usual twin front, side and curtain airbags, plus a very good latest generation DSC Plus stability control system that gives you a bit of leeway when the car's switched into Sport Plus mode, but will ultimately step into the rescue if your ambition outweighs your talent. There's also tyre pressure monitoring, Isofix child seat attachments, front and rear, and anti-lock brakes, with emergency brake assist to help in panic stops advertised to following motorists by automatically flashing dynamic brake lights. Options here include the driving assistant pack, which uses a camera mounted in the rearview mirror to detect a possible collision, alerting the driver and automatically initiating braking if necessary. Also included is lane departure warning to stop dozy drivers veering out of their lanes on the highway. If the worst should happen and the infotainment setup of your 2 Series has been fitted with BMW's emergency call system, the car will automatically summon help in an accident or an emergency, alerting the emergency services to your exact GPS location. Could be a lifesaver. Developing horsepower isn't particularly tricky. Doing it while preserving fuel economy and keeping emissions in check is what separates the best engineers in the automotive world from the rest. And from where I'm sitting, it would appear that a good slug of the world's best automotive engineers reside in or around Munich. Put simply, the BMW 2 Series needn't be an expensive car to run. Now, much of this is down to BMW's efficient dynamics technology, which includes features like electric power steering, brake energy regeneration, and an auto start-stop system to cut the engine when you don't need it, stuck in traffic or waiting at the lights. Plus, weight has been pared back and aerodynamics have been improved. Also playing their part in this model are the so-called aero curtains, integrated into the front apron to channel air over the wheels and around the side of the car, helping to reduce turbulence. And talking of wheels, on most 2 Series models you'll find these shod with efficient low rolling resistance run-flat tyres. I say most because this M235i is the exception, fitted with some rather more hardcore Michelin Pilot sports rubber. But the driver must also play his or her part. So there's an optimum gear shift indicator on the dash, and in the drive performance control system, an Eco Pro mode that you can select. That'll focus all of the car's systems on ultimate frugality. It's also worth mentioning that opting for the 8-speed automatic gearbox rather than the 6-speed manual I'm using here will also improve your running cost returns by a few percentage points. The figures for this racy M235i suggest that with manual transmission, it'll manage a return of 34.9 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and emit 189 grams per kilometre of CO2. With the auto gearbox, you can improve that to 37.2 miles to the gallon and 176 grams per kilometre. Tot up all the figures, and after 3 years and 36,000 miles of M235i manual model ownership, one of these will run you to 80.1 pence per mile. Compare that to the kind of base Porsche Cayman, which will cost you around £5,000 more and travel significantly slower, yet will still cost you 87.3 pence per mile. Buy a Cayman S to match the BMW's pace, and that figure jumps up to £1.12 per mile. Ouch! What else? Well, there's a condition-based service indicator, and those maintenance costs can be kept in check with 2 optional servicing packages which cover you for servicing or servicing and maintenance for 5 years or 50,000 miles, whichever comes first. To insure an M235i, you're looking at figures based around a Group 39 rating. Driving enthusiasts will often tell you that sports cars aren't what they once were. With four-wheel drive and electronic interference rife in modern performance machines, almost anyone can buy such a thing and drive it very fast indeed. So where are the cars you have to master? The ones you have to tame, where yours are the risks and yours the rewards. Most manufacturers no longer make them, but BMW does. With compact dimensions, a reasonably light weight, explosive power, rear-wheel drive and realistic pricing, this M235i satisfies just about every wish on an old-school enthusiast tick list, and does so in a way that truly recaptures the spirit of original M-Power models. There's simply nothing else like this car. Everything else you might consider as a competitor is either bigger or smaller, with front or four-wheel drive. Would a pricey, fully fledged M2 model be any better than this? I rather doubt it. Sure, it'd be more powerful, but away from the racetrack, that wouldn't really add any extra real-world speed to those rare occasions when it's possible to let rip on a public road. As one writer pointed out, if an M3 or an M4 is a hunting rifle in its approach to delivering powerful performance, then this car's attitude is more akin to that of a sawn-off shotgun. It might not be pretty, but it's pretty darn effective, and something you mess with at your peril. A race car for the road, just as every true M-Power machine really should be.